Slash is best known as a rugged off-road race truck, but with a few modifications we will convert it to a street-ready drag racer. In addition to wheelie-popping power, we will create a custom look to show the true versatility of the Slash platform. The drag Slash, or Slagster, can take many forms. Today we will demonstrate one of our favorite custom builds. These are the parts we'll be using for the build. See the links in the description for the parts used and additional body options. We recommend using the 58076-21/VXL model as a base for the build. This model has a VXL brushless power system, low CG chassis, Traxxas stability management, and an onboard audio system which can be installed on the new body. The OBA system is not necessary for the build, but it's the perfect touch for adding realism to a drag Slash. We do recommend using a low CG chassis along with the VXL 3S power system. Basic RC tools will be needed for the conversion, along with some additional tools and items. Always use caution, wear protective safety glasses, and have an adult supervise when working with these tools. We recommend working on a flat, open area to keep track of all hardware and components as we go. Now let's get to the conversion. First, we will make sure that the battery is disconnected and remove the body and wheels. On the front end, we'll remove the steel links, caster blocks, and steering blocks. We'll reattach the blocks after installing the new suspension arms and links. Now remove both front shocks. We'll remove the front bumper for access to the bulkhead. Now remove the 3 screws behind the bulkhead. Remove the 2 screws on top of the bulkhead to release the front assembly. Now we'll remove the lower links from the back of the shock tower and take out the 2 lower screws to release the bulkhead. Now that the bulkhead is free from the shock tower, take the small flathead and very carefully pry the small E-clips off of the pins securing the suspension arms. We will reuse these clips and pins, but not the white tie bar. Since the JATO suspension arms that we want to use will not fit directly onto the Slash bulkhead, we'll just modify the bulkhead by removing a little bit of material from the rear side. Take off just enough for the suspension arms to fit. Before installing the arms, we will cut and sand off the small bump on the inner front side of each arm to ensure clearance. Now we'll use the 2.5mm drill bit on each arm to drill new holes to mount the shocks. The new hole will go in the front side of the arm, so we will go through the innermost hole on the rear side of the arm with the drill bit to line up the hole. Now we can finish the hole by drilling from the front of the arm. This is where we will mount the bottoms of the shocks when reassembling the front end. Install the new arms with the original pins and clips. The straight side on each arm will face the front of the vehicle. Use the needle nose pliers to carefully press the small E-clips back into place on the pins. The arms should move up and down freely without sliding forward and back on the pins. Now we'll remove the front pins connecting the caster blocks and steering blocks so that we can drill out the caster blocks to accommodate the larger pins from the 6834 pin set. Use the 1/8 inch bit to drill out the hole on the bottom of each caster block, where it will connect to the suspension arm with the larger pin. Reassemble the caster blocks with the steering blocks using the original pins. Connect each assembly to the outer suspension arm using the new larger pins. Now we'll connect the new 5539 links to the back of the shock tower and reattach the tower to the bulkhead using the original hardware. Connect the new upper link to the top of the caster block on each side. Remove the steering links and replace them with the 5538 links. Now we can reattach the front assembly to the chassis and secure everything with the original hardware. Now we'll trim out the front bumper to accommodate the new body. Just cut along the bottom of the bar using the Dremel tool and straight scissors to cut and clean up any debris. Now we can reinstall the bumper. Now we will reattach the shocks using the longer 3x20mm screws from part number 2580. We will use these small spacers from the 6099 shock kit to keep the shocks in place on the suspension arms. Put the screw into the newly drilled hole with the spacer on the bottom of the arm. Fit the bottom of the shock behind the spacer and secure it with the screw. Now we will reinstall the top screws to secure the shocks. Now we can move to the rear end, first removing the clamp that secures the motor wires. We'll go ahead and disconnect the wires. Remove the gear cover for access to the slipper clutch. Take out the 2 screws to remove the motor. Now we'll take out these screws to remove the rear bumper. Use the nut driver to remove the slipper clutch assembly. Keep the pieces in order so we can easily reinstall them later. This will give us access to the rear links. Disconnect both links. Use the 1.5mm driver to disconnect each drive shaft from the differential output. Disconnect the tops of the rear shocks. Remove the suspension pins to disconnect the arms from the bulkhead. Remove the outer pins to disconnect the axle carriers from the arms, then remove the shocks. Pry off the hex hub on each drive shaft and remove it, along with the small pin and washers. We'll replace the original hexes with the aluminum 14mm hexes when reassembling. Disconnect the tie rod from each axle carrier. Now we will use our U-joint tool to disassemble the original drive shafts. We will assemble the new 1651 shafts using the new stub axles from part number 2753X. Reassemble the shafts with the axle carriers. We will demonstrate this with the stock wheel hubs, but make sure to use a compatible 14mm wheel hex adapter if installing the 69-68 funny car wheels. Now we will add the 2750R rear arms. Attach the 2441A camber links with the 3642X shoulder screws. Connect the rear shocks and attach the components to the rear bulkhead. Reinstall the slipper clutch and motor. Set the slipper clutch at the proper tension and make sure the gear mesh is set. Tighten down the motor screws. Thread the motor wires through the rear shock tower and connect them to the ESC. Put the gear cover back in place. Now we'll assemble the wheelie bar. We'll remove the stock wheels on the wheelie bar and replace them with the aluminum wheels from the 5186A set. Now install the assembled wheelie bar in place on the rear bumper. We can set the wheelie bar to the desired height when fitting the body. Now we can assemble the front wheels and tires. Glue the tires all the way around on both sides. A paper cutout like this one can help when painting the wheels to avoid overspray on the tires. We will go with black for the wheels. This is a good time to go ahead and paint the body too. Follow any instructions from the body and paint manufacturers when painting the body. Here are a few basic designs for the classic drag car look. When everything is fully dried, put on the wheels and test fit the body. Trim out the wheel wells as needed. Continue to test the fit and make small cuts as needed. When fitting the body, make any other small adjustments needed, such as adding shock spacers to adjust the ride height or adjusting the height of the body mounts. We will go ahead and remove the rear body mount so we can lower it. This will require a little bit of trimming using the side cutters. Cut off the bottom hole on each side and put the body mount in the lowest position. When the fit is just right, we can mount the body. Position the body over the body posts and use the magnets to mark the position of the holes. Use the body reamer to poke small holes, then remount the holes to the proper size to fit over the body posts. With the body in place, we will install one of the OBA speakers from the original body. We will need to trim the OBA mount when fitting it in the new body. Peel off any remaining adhesive from the speaker. We will use a new piece of adhesive when mounting it on the new body. Put the speaker in place in the new body, center it, and mark the spots where we'll trim it to fit. Use the side cutters and carefully trim the mount. Now we'll mark and ream small holes to mount the speaker with the 3x25mm screws and lock nuts. Make small holes in the body using the reamer just big enough for the 3mm screws. Apply the new adhesive to the speaker and mount it to the body, using the 3x25mm screws and 3mm lock nuts. For a finishing touch, add some decals to customize the look. Plug in a battery of your choosing, and the model is ready to go. We will go with a 3S LiPo for maximum power and speed. Crank up the OBA and your drag slash is ready to hit the road. Let's make a few speed runs to check out the performance. For more tips, tricks, and custom builds, hit subscribe and visit us at Traxxas.com.